This is chapters 51 through 55 of 14 Ways to Die. 51. Usually when I get home, Nana's making a cup of tea, the kettle just boiled, as if she can hear me from the end of the street. But not today. Today she's yelling at my dad. And you can't even be bothered to fix it. It should be boarded up at the very least. I'll do it if you won't. Hey, I say. Nan turns and says, Jessica, we didn't hear you come in. I'm not surprised. What's happening? Nan looks at my dad, who quickly glances at me before staring at the floor. Nothing, darling, she says. I was talking to your father about the window. She doesn't ask what happened. Even my Nan, who doesn't have Wi-Fi and calls it the interweb, even she knows why there's broken glass all over my bedroom floor. I'll fix it now, Dad mumbles, and we watch him go into the garage and come back with some wood and a hammer. Before Mom died, Dad loved building things. Not only computers, but little bits of magic. Now the garage is full of pieces of wood, but when I was a kid, that wood was transformed into toys and castles and bookshelves and anything you could imagine. Nan goes to the kitchen to make the tea, and when I follow, she asks if I'm okay. I nod and think about hugging her, but I'm worried I'll cry again, so I keep my distance. I'm fine, I lie. If I think about it, I feel terrified, because he knows where I live, whoever he is. I force myself to smile and say, I won't let some idiot ruin my chi. She hugs me. Excuse me. Your mom would be proud of you. Nan says that whenever she is proud of me, but doesn't want to spell it out. It always makes me happy sad, but you learn to live with that. I don't cry, and when Dad starts hammering upstairs, I'm grateful that she can shout him into action. But she is his mother-in-law. She was there when they got married. She was the woman he was desperate to impress when he first fell in love with her daughter. So I guess she has a power that I don't. Oh, that hurt. Okay, 52. If you don't know the whole story, you would assume my dad is an asshole. But he's not, because when Mom first died, some people pointed the finger at him. A few pointed more than a finger. This isn't the first time we've had a brick thrown through our window, because if enough people are interested in your story, some will make you the villain. That's what happened with Dad when someone started saying he didn't look upset enough when he was appealing for witnesses. They questioned his lack of tears, forgetting that by then he was all cried out. Like all bullshit, most people ignored it. But not everyone, including some idiot who thought spraying insults on our garage door was a good use of his time, who thought throwing a brick through our living room window was a perfectly normal thing to do. If you'd seen my dad back then, you'd recognize the look in his eyes when he saw my bedroom window shattered. He thought he was the reason. Sorry, this is breaking my heart. He felt the finger pointing at him again, but he was too tired to fight. I remember the day it happened, the knock on the door and the hushed voices. Mom was working late, so Dad had picked me up from school. He was making dinner, a real meal, with vegetables and spices in 3 saucepans on the stove. A policeman whispered his way into our living room. He said maybe it would be better if I wasn't around to hear this. Dad told me to go upstairs and play, so I did because I was 7. I played while they told my dad his wife had been murdered within screaming distance of our house. Except she didn't scream. She didn't get the chance. And when I came down, Dad was sitting in the living room with the scariest look on his face. The bulbs behind his eyes had blown. He looked broken. At some point he threw the dinner away, and he cried when I said I was hungry. That hurt, sorry. These aren't memories. They are stains. I couldn't forget them if I wanted to. But what I know with absolute certainty is that my dad had nothing to do with my mom's murder. 53. That night Danny calls and says, I'm sorry I wasn't there. It's not your fault, I reply. He would have waited until you left anyway. What did the police say? I paused while I considered telling Danny the truth, but I don't want him or Adrian flipping out, so I say, they're looking into it. Are you going to continue? For a moment, I think all he's worried about is losing my audience, but before I can answer, he says, no one would blame you for leaving the show. I'm not too sure about that, not when he tells me my subscribers have doubled in a week. But why would I stop when it's working? I only have 1 guaranteed week left, and I need to take advantage of that, not throw it away. My story is back in the news with more reporters waiting outside every day, gobbling up the comments I toss them and reminding everyone what the magpie man did to Mom and 12 women since. You shouldn't have gone after him, Danny says. At least I wore my head cam, I joke. He huffs and says, well, there is that. I don't tell him about the drawing and the number. If he thinks I'm in trouble, he could tell Adrian to pull the plug, and then I'd be back at square one. I keep thinking, what if you were my sister, Danny says. I wouldn't let her do this. It's too dangerous. You have a sister? Yeah, she's just like you, headstrong and confident. She doesn't take no for an answer. I feel disappointed and realize he doesn't know me at all. I was scared that doing the show would let people see how weak I am, how my entire life is balled up in one horrible moment, and every day since then is me trying to pull free. But they think I'm some kind of hero. They think I'm a fighter. And maybe I am sometimes. Maybe I should have gone into the alley after all. If you need to talk, remember we have professionals on hand. Danny says, You mean psychiatrist. He laughs, just a quick air puff down the phone and says, Or you could talk to me. I'll bear that in mind. If it happens again, call 999 before running after them. I will, I say, surprised the police haven't already paid a visit. Maybe they aren't the big fans I thought they were. Dad has boarded up my window, and before she left, Nan said the window replacement people were coming tomorrow. I go into Dad's room and look out, but the street is empty except for a cat that suddenly darts up the road. On the wall above his bed, if you look close enough, you can see the paint strokes Mom left when they were decorating. I love you, she wrote, too thick to be completely covered, a blemish unless you know the truth. Dude! Oh my god, okay. I feel the cut in my foot throbbing, but when I check, it seems to be healing. I don't know what I expected after 3 weeks of being live, but it wasn't this. Holding the photo of me and Mom, I say, I'll try harder. Then I take the drawing of the magpie out of my bag and cover the 4, so instead of 14, it says 1. That is what I need to focus on. She is all that matters. Dude, you're killing me. Okay, 54. When I get home from school the next day, my window has been replaced, and the wood Dad used to board it up is back in the garage. There's a letter by the door, and inside is a copy of Sarah's article from the Messenger. Over the story in thick red pen, someone has written, I'll show you how pathetic I am. Okay, I look back at the envelope, which has my name on it but no address. Whoever did this put it at my door. I compare it to the drawing of the magpie and the number 14, but it is impossible to tell if they're from the same person. In one interview, I called him a freak show. In another, I said he must be weak to always target women. Whew! Today, to one of the last tabloids to arrive at my door, I said the magpie man should do us all a favor and kill himself. Jesus. I wanted to bait him. I thought the best way to stop him was being careful. I thought the best way to stop him was being I thought the best way to stop him being careful was to piss him off. It looks like I have. Sorry, I don't know why it took me so long. 55. Danny texts say the producers have agreed to let me go to Mayfield Lodge without him, but will the retreat still let me come if I bring psychos to the window? If things don't work out, this will be my last show, and I suddenly realize how much I need Danny and Michael. They make this so much easier. Without them, I'm scared I'll mess it up. After theology, I ask Mr. Humphreys if he thinks it's a good idea if someone like me is meant for something like Mayfield Lodge. What do you mean, Jess? It's a spiritual place, right? It's a quiet place? It is. I'm neither of those things. He laughs and sits on the edge of my desk. Maybe that's the point. Maybe you need a little more quiet. This is one of the reasons he's my favorite, because he never acts like I'm a burden. Teachers are always saying how little time they have, but if you need him, Mr. Humphreys is there to help. Aren't you scared, taking me on the trip? He smiles and says, I've done the risk assessment. I wonder if there's a whole new section all about me, but I don't ask. I think back to all the previous students who went to Mayfield Lodge before us, how different they were when they returned. Will that be me in a week? And will I be better or worse? It's not the ideal time, but I have to see for myself what all the fuss is about. Plus, it's the closest I've had to a vacation in years. All the way to English, I'm reminiscing about the weekends Nan and I used to take together, and I almost walk into Mr. Collins at the door. I mumble an apology as I step past. He's the complete opposite of Mr. Humphreys. He never looks pleased to see us, rarely smiles, and watches the clock more than we do. Some teachers are clearly in the wrong job. Books out, Mr. Collins says. Page 32. He talks and commands, saving full sentences for parent-teacher conferences. As I pull the book from my bag, something comes with it, falling to the floor by my feet. It's from a newspaper, an ad with half the page missing. But when I turn it over, I see my mom's face smiling back at me, and next to it, the full gory details of her death.